Most parents today will hand their kid a smartphone before the kid learns to tie their shoes, and we're basically doing this blind. We have no idea what the long-term effects are going to be because we're the first generation attempting this. Previous parents worried about television. Their parents worried about radio. But this is different. This is fundamentally different, and yet we're making real-time parenting decisions with almost no roadmap. Picture this for a moment. Your child is 7 years old. They're curious, creative, and they want to explore. Now imagine handing them access to literally the entire internet, but without any actual understanding of what they're doing or what's looking back at them. That's the reality for millions of families right now. And the scary part isn't just the content they might find. It's the apps designed specifically to keep them scrolling, the algorithms learning what makes them tick, and the social comparison that never existed before in human history. Here's what's happening behind the scenes that most parents miss completely. When your kid watches a video on any major platform, the algorithm isn't just playing the next video randomly. It's analyzing what kept their attention, how long they watched, what made them tap, and what made them stop. Then it's adjusting in real time. Your child's attention is literally being studied and optimized for engagement, and engagement for a developing brain often means the most stimulating, most addictive content possible. That's not a conspiracy. That's just how modern platforms work. But then there's the social layer. Kids are now constantly aware of what their peers are doing, what they're wearing, where they're going, and how many people liked the photo they posted. This awareness is happening at an earlier age than ever before, and the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making, impulse control, and long-term thinking, isn't fully developed until around age 25. So you're essentially giving developing brains access to an unlimited social comparison machine while they're still learning how to manage their own emotions. The pressure is real. Some studies suggest that teens now spend an average of 7 to 9 hours per day on screens, and that's on top of homework, which often requires a computer anyway. The line between productive screen time and compulsive screen time has become almost invisible. So what does modern parenting actually look like in this environment? Well, the first thing to understand is that this isn't about being a strict parent or a permissive parent anymore. It's about being an informed parent. And being informed means understanding what your kids are actually doing online, not just trusting that they're being safe. One approach that's gaining traction is what some researchers call co-viewing and co-engagement. Instead of just letting your kids scroll alone in their room, you're actually sitting with them sometimes. You're asking questions about what they're watching. You're noticing which creators they follow and why. You're understanding their digital world the same way previous generations understood their physical neighborhoods. This doesn't mean being a spy or violating their privacy, but it does mean being present and aware. Now, here's where things get interesting. The parents who seem to be navigating this most successfully aren't the ones who ban technology completely. Those kids typically just find workarounds anyway and develop an unhealthy relationship with screens because they're seen as forbidden fruit. Instead, the parents who are doing well are the ones who set clear boundaries, but make those boundaries reasonable and often negotiate them together with their child. Imagine sitting down with your 13-year-old and having an actual conversation about screen time. Not lecturing, but asking questions like, what do you think is a reasonable amount of time for social media? Or, how do you feel when you've been on your phone for a while? These conversations help kids develop their own internal guardrails instead of just external ones imposed by parents. The boundary setting part is actually crucial because it gives structure. No phones at the dinner table. No screens an hour before bed. Specific apps that have age-appropriate restrictions. These aren't punishments. They're just rules of the house, like taking off your shoes at the door. They're consistent, they're predictable, and they're applied fairly. But here's what catches parents off guard. The actual content your kid is consuming matters way less than you probably think it does, and way more than you probably think it does at the same time. That sounds contradictory, but here's the nuance. Yes, you should be aware of what your kid is watching. Yes, some content is genuinely harmful. But the majority of screen time issues aren't about stumbling across one inappropriate video. They're about the accumulation. They're about the pattern. They're about whether your child is using screens as a way to regulate their emotions, avoid boredom, or escape from something. Think about what you do when you're stressed or bored. How many of us immediately reach for our phones? We've all done it. Our kids learned that behavior from us. So if you want your kids to develop a healthier relationship with technology, the first place to start isn't with their devices. It's with your own device habits. Parents who use their phones constantly, who check messages during conversations, who scroll while their kids are talking to them, those kids learn that pattern. And then they replicate it. Not because they're bad kids, but because modeling is more powerful than instruction. If you're trying to figure out how to handle all of this practically, here's a framework that actually works for a lot of families. First, have age-appropriate conversations about why certain guidelines exist. Don't just say, "because I said so." Explain how algorithms work. Explain what data collection means. Explain that people are trying to get their attention. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for, and when they understand the why, they're more likely to internalize the rule instead of just following it while you're watching. Second, use the tools that are actually built into devices. Parental controls, screen time limits, app restrictions, these exist for a reason. They're not perfect, and determined kids can sometimes work around them, but they create a structure that makes it harder to slip into compulsive usage without intention. Third, and this is important, create offline alternatives that are actually appealing. This is where a lot of parents stumble. You can't just tell a kid to stop scrolling and then offer them boredom as the alternative. You have to create spaces and activities that are genuinely more interesting. That might be a family game night. It might be outdoor time. It might be a hobby or a sport. But it has to be something that actually captures their attention in a different way. If you're finding this useful and you're wondering how to keep up with these changes as they happen, because parenting advice shifts pretty rapidly in the digital age, subscribing might help. I'm regularly looking at new research on child development, emerging apps, and how parents are actually adapting to these challenges. Missing a few months can mean missing entirely new platforms or concerns that your kids are already navigating. Now, let's talk about something that's often overlooked: the anxiety piece. Modern parenting in a connected world doesn't just affect kids. It affects parents too. You're getting notifications. You're seeing what other families are doing. You're comparing your parenting to some curated version of someone else's life on social media. And that creates this constant low-level anxiety that you're not doing it right, that your kid is too online or not online enough, that they're falling behind socially or academically. The truth is, this anxiety is largely manufactured. Not by you, but by the systems around you. Social media shows you the highlight reel. You see the family that seems to have it all figured out and you think, why can't we be like that? But you don't see the stress behind closed doors. You don't see how much screen time that family actually uses. You don't see the conflicts or the challenges. One of the most helpful shifts a parent can make is to recognize that your family's relationship with technology doesn't need to look like anyone else's. Your kid doesn't need to have a smartphone at the same age as their friends if you're not comfortable with it. Your family doesn't need to have the same rules as the neighbor's family. There's actually more flexibility here than most people realize, but only if you're willing to make decisions based on your values and your child's needs rather than on what feels like the standard. That said, there are some universal principles that seem to hold up across research and parental experience. First, kids do better when they have strong relationships with the adults in their lives. That means time and attention that isn't mediated by screens. Not constantly, but regularly. Second, kids benefit from understanding how their digital lives connect to their real lives. When a kid posts something online, there are real consequences. When they engage with content, that engagement has real psychological effects. Making those connections explicit helps. Third, kids need to understand that their digital footprint is permanent. Screenshots exist. The internet has a long memory. This isn't meant to scare them, but it's meant to create awareness. The photo they post at 14 might be there when they're applying for college or jobs. But here's what's also true. Technology isn't the enemy. The internet isn't inherently evil. There are real benefits. Kids can learn from resources that didn't exist 20 years ago. They can connect with people who share their interests, even if those people don't live near them. They can create things and share them with an audience. They can explore their identity in ways that previous generations couldn't. The goal isn't to shield kids from technology. The goal is to help them develop what some researchers call digital literacy, which is basically the ability to navigate online spaces with critical thinking, awareness of what's happening behind the scenes, and an understanding of their own emotional relationship with screens. This looks like teaching kids to ask questions like, who's making money from what I'm watching? And what happens to the information I share? And how am I feeling right now? And is this app making that better or worse? These are life skills, not just tech skills. As kids get older, this also means having conversations about online safety that go beyond just don't talk to strangers. It means understanding sextortion, digital harassment, the way misinformation spreads, and how to recognize when they're being manipulated or pressured. These are real threats in the online world, but they're not threats you can protect your kid from entirely. You can only equip them with awareness and judgment. The research on what actually helps is pretty clear at this point. Kids who have strong offline relationships do better online. Kids whose parents are engaged and aware of their digital lives without being intrusive do better. Kids whose families have clear boundaries and consistent rules do better. And kids who see their parents modeling healthy technology habits do dramatically better. This brings us to the hardest part of modern parenting in a connected world. It's not about managing your kids' behavior. It's about managing your own. Because your kids are watching how you use technology, and if you're using it compulsively while telling them not to, they're getting a very clear message about what matters. The parents I've talked to who feel most confident about navigating this say that they made one crucial shift. They stopped trying to be perfect and started being intentional. They're not trying to eliminate screens or create a tech-free paradise. They're just trying to be thoughtful about when screens are serving a real purpose and when they're just a way to zone out. And they're doing that for themselves first, then modeling it for their kids. This is actually more powerful than any rule you could create. When your kid sees you put your phone away during dinner because you want to focus on family time, that teaches them something. When they see you read a book instead of scrolling, that teaches them something. When they hear you say, "I've been on my phone too much today, and I'm going to take a break," that teaches them that there's no shame in recognizing when you need to reset. The future of parenting in a connected world is going to keep evolving. New platforms will emerge. New challenges will surface. But the core principles won't change. Connection matters. Awareness matters. Intentionality matters. And parents matter. You're not going to do this perfectly. No one is. You're going to sometimes allow too much screen time. You're going to sometimes forget to model what you're trying to teach. You're going to sometimes miss warning signs. That's not failure. That's just being human in an incredibly complex time. The question that actually matters is whether you're engaged in trying, whether you're willing to learn, and whether you're prioritizing your relationship with your kids above any specific parenting ideology or rule. If you are, then you're already doing the most important thing. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to managing technology with your kids right now? Is it setting boundaries, or is it more about understanding what they're actually doing online? Let me know in the comments, because this is something where parental experience is sometimes more valuable than any expert advice.